Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtiprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimukte Stamodwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam Mahantaste Samchitta Prashanta Vimanyevaha Suhrida Sadhavo Ye. One can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to the highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impersonalists and devotees. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful and are fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. The human body is like a junction. One may either take the path of liberation or the path leading to a hellish condition. How one can take these paths is described herein. On the path of liberation, one associates with Mahatmas, and on the path of bondage, one associates with those attached to sense gratification and women. There are two types of Mahatmas, the impersonalist and the devotee. Although the ultimate goal is different, the process of emancipation is almost the same. Both want eternal happiness. One seeks happiness in impersonal Brahman, and the other seeks happiness in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As described in the first verse, Brahma Sokyam, Brahman means spiritual or eternal. Both the impersonalist and the devotee seek eternal, blissful life. In any case, it is advised that one becomes perfect. In the words of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Asatya Sangha Tyaga Ei Vaishnavacha, Stri Sangi Eka Sadhu, Krishna Abhakta Ar. To remain unattached to the modes of material nature, one should avoid associating with those who are asat, materialistic. There are two kinds of materialists. One who is attached to women and sense gratification, and the other is simply a non-devotee. On the positive side is association with Mahatmas, and on the negative side is the avoidance of non-devotees and women hunters. So this is what Rishabdev Maharaj is speaking to his sons, that to make advancement on the path of bhakti or on the spiritual path, one has to associate with Mahatmas. Mahatmas could be either impersonalists or devotees, but the goal is, the paths are completely different, but still they're considered Mahatmas. And never ever associate with people who are just worldly people, interested only in opposite sex and the sex, and that's it. And those who just are very much interested in these activities. So association is very, very important. Who do we associate with? Yeva mayesha krita sohridartha janeshu deham vartakeshu griheshu jayatma jarati matsu na priti yukta yavad arthascha loke. Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They're not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders, nor are they attached to wives, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they're not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together. Hmm. So this are further symptoms of Mahatmas or those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness. Whether he is an impersonalist or a devotee, one who is actually interested in advancing spiritually should not mingle with those who are simply interested in maintaining the body by means of the so called advancement of civilization. Those who are interested in spiritual life should not be attached to homely comforts in the company of wife, children, friends, and so forth. So those who are interested in spiritual life should not be attached to the comforts. Even if one is a grihastha and has to earn his livelihood, he should be satisfied by collecting only enough money to maintain body and soul together. One should not have more than that, nor less than that. As indicated here, a householder should endeavor to earn money for the execution of bhakti, yoga, shravanam, kirtanam, etc. A householder should lead such a life that he gets full opportunity to hear and chant. He should worship the deity at home, observe festivals, invite friends in and give them prasad. A householder should earn money for this purpose, not for sense gratification. So this is the ideal, very ideal situation as explained by Maharaj Rishabdev, and Prabhupada is further elaborating on it that just don't mingle. In fact, after a while, we ourselves don't like to waste time with people who only talk about worldly topics, either of opposite sex or of money or sports or politics. That's all they speak of. How much money I have, how many properties I have, and this or that. There's no interest at all. It's just okay, outwardly, just for the sake of keeping the relationship, we might engage in that kind of talk, but there is no interest at all. And this is the right thing because people who want to make spiritual advancement, they just don't like to waste their time like that. And at the same time, one should lead such a life that he gets full opportunity to hear and chant. That is the right way of living. Nunam pramattah kurute vikarma yad indriya prite aprinoti sadhu manne yatatmanoyam asannapi kleshad asudeha. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activities. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body, which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it is not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. So people who are just mad after materialistic living. Of course, these days, I don't know the situation in India because of Corona, but before Corona, or better, when I was there at least, people would just throng in the malls, shopping malls, and just go crazy about shopping. Buy this, buy that. We would Sometimes we would be doing book distribution outside the malls, and people were just so crazy about buying so many things, whether they need it or not. It's so, for them, it is a fun, this is a way of life. But devotees, they just, they just can't see the value in all this. So people who are materialistic, they don't know that due to this past misdeeds, he has received a body which is, although temporary, is the cause of misery. But they keep on working towards satisfying it, satisfying the senses. Begging, borrowing, and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse because such consciousness leads one to a dark, hellish condition. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. In the Vedas, it is said, Asanga hi ayam purusha. The living entity is not really connected with this material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body. So that is a devotee understands, okay, I have this material body because of past sinful activities, somehow I've received this body, but now I should engage in bhakti, in devotion service, so no more material bodies after this. But the karmis, they just don't know, and they work so hard to maintain this body, to give pleasure to this body, and in the end, you get another body. That's all. Parabhavastavat abhota jato yavanna jigyasatatma tattvam yavat kriyastavat idam manovai karmatmakam yena sharir bandha. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance, be it sinful or pious. Karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. So it's so difficult to get out of this cycle. Generally, people think that one should act very piously in order to be relieved from misery, but that's not a fact. Even though one engages in pious activity and speculation means gyan, he is nonetheless defeated. His only aim should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya and all material activities. Speculative knowledge and pious activity do not solve the problems of material life. One should be inquisitive to understand his spiritual position. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. Unless one understands the self and its activities, one has to be considered in material bondage. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also said, Ye anyar vindaksha vimuktamani. A person who does not have knowledge of devotion service may think himself liberated, but actually he is not. Such people may approach the impersonal Brahman effulgence, but they fall down again into material enjoyment because they have no knowledge of devotional service. As long as one is interested in karma and jnana, he continues enduring the miseries of material life, birth, old age, disease, and death. Karmis certainly take on one body after another. As far as jnanis are concerned, unless they are promoted to the topmost understanding, they must return to the material world. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate. The point is to know Krishna, Vasudeva, as everything and surrender unto him. Karmis do not know this, but a devotee who is 100% engaged in devotion service of the Lord knows fully what is karma and jnana. Therefore, a pure devotee is no longer interested in karma or jnana. The real bhakta is untouched by any tinge of karma and jnana. His only purpose in life is to serve the Lord. So he doesn't want to get entangled or affected or distracted by karma or jnana. A devotee, he just wants to engage only in bhakti. But there's so many people, they think by doing pious activity, we can get rid of this negativity or negative reactions in our life. No. Pious activity has positive reactions. Sinful activity has negative reactions. That's all. And it goes on. The cycle keeps going on and on and on and on. So as long as mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. And material body means more activities, more fruitive activities, more karmic reactions, and that goes on and on. Evam manah karma vasham prayukte avidyatmani upadhiyamane pritirna yavan mai vasudeve namuchyate dehe yogena tavat. When the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjugated to fruitive activity. Therefore, unless one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. So when the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual. It means it's complete ignorance. He only understands things that I am this body. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself. So Rishabdev is showing his position. He is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. When the mind is polluted by fruitive activity, the living entity wants to be elevated from one material position to another. Generally, everyone is involved in working hard day and night to improve his economic condition. Even when one understands the Vedic rituals, he becomes interested in promotion to heavenly planets, not knowing that one's real interest lies in returning home back to Godhead. By acting on the platform of fruitive activity, one wanders throughout the universe in different species and forms. Unless he comes in contact with the devotee of the Lord, a guru, he does not become attached to the service of Lord Vasudeva. Knowledge of Vasudeva requires many births to understand. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. After struggling for existence for many births, one may take shelter at the lotus feet of Vasudeva Krishna. When this happens, one actually becomes wise and surrenders unto him. That is the only way to stop the repetition of birth and death. This is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita and the instructions given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami at the Shashwamedh Ghat in Prayagraj. Brahmanda Brahmita Konam Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Vich. The living entity wanders throughout different planets in different forms and bodies. But if by chance he comes in contact with the bona fide spiritual master, by the grace of the spiritual master, he receives Lord Krishna's shelter and his devotional life begins. So until his devotional life begins, which comes when he comes in contact with the devotee of the Lord, a guru and Krishna. Until this happens, he does not get attracted or attached to the service of Krishna. Till then, he is completely in the ignorance. And Brahmanda Brahmite, throughout the whole universe, a person is just roaming around, roaming. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. Yada na pashyati yatha guneham swarte pramattah sahasa vipaschita gata smrite ravindati tatra tapa nasadya mathunim agaram agyaha. Even though one may be very learned and wise, he is mad if he does not understand that the endeavor for sense gratification is a useless waste of time. Being forgetful of his own interest, he tries to be happy in this material world, centering his interest around his home, which is based on sexual intercourse and which brings him all kinds of material miseries. In this way, one is no better than a foolish animal. Heavy statements. In the lowest stage of devotional life, one is not an unalloyed devotee. Anya Milashita Shunyam. To be an unalloyed devotee, one must be freed from all material desires and untouched by fruitive activity and speculative knowledge. On the lower platform, one may sometimes be interested in philosophical speculation with a tinge of devotion. However, at that stage, one is still interested in sense gratification and is contaminated by the modes of material nature. The influence of Maya is so strong that even a person advanced in knowledge actually forgets that he is Krishna's eternal servant. Therefore, he remains satisfied in his householder life, which is centered around sexual intercourse. Conceding to a life of sex, he agrees to suffer all kinds of material miseries. Due to ignorance, one is thus bound by the chain of material laws. So this is how Maya acts, and it acts on everybody. Persons who are already in the grips of Maya, she doesn't have to work very hard on them. A person who is trying to get out of the grips of Maya, she makes sure that those persons really go through tough tests. And this is very tough exam. To get out of the clutches of the sexual attraction. Very tough. And this is what Prabhupada says, conceding to a life of sex, he agrees to suffer all kinds of material miseries. And due to ignorance, one is thus bound by the chain of material laws. The person was already a karmi, he just doesn't know what he is doing. He thinks this is the best enjoyment. And look at all the movies, TV shows, advertisements, whether that was print media or the electronic media, all they promote is this sexual attraction. They just want to attract to the opposite sex. Men to women, women to men. That's all. Because this is so deep-rooted in our hearts. It's so difficult to give up. So difficult. And the advertisements and the peer pressure, whether in school, colleges, at work, or in a social circle, it's so strong that, if you're not having this kind of activity, then your life is worthless, useless. And look at Rishabh Dev, he is speaking so hard, so tough on it. He's so tough on it. Next verse is even tougher. Punsa striya mithuni bhava metam tayor mritho hirde granthim aho. Ato grihi kshetra sut apta vittar janasya moho ayam aham mameti. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. The sex serves as a natural attraction between man and woman, and when they are married, their relationship becomes more involved. Due to the entangling relationship between man and woman, there is a sense of illusion whereby one thinks, this man is my husband or this woman is my wife. This is called Hriday Granthi, the hard knot in the heart. This knot is very difficult to undo. Even though a man and woman separate, either for the principles of Varnashram or simply to get a divorce. In any case, the man always thinks of the woman and the woman always thinks of the man. Thus, a person becomes materially attached to family, property, and children, although all of these are temporary. The possessor unfortunately identifies with his property and wealth. Sometimes, even after renunciation, one becomes attached to a temple or to the few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi. But such attachment is not as strong as family attachment. The attachment to the family is the strongest illusion. In the Satya Samhita, it is stated, sometimes it is found among exalted personalities like Lord Brahma that the wife and children are not a cause of bondage. On the contrary, the wife actually helps for the spiritual life and liberation. Nonetheless, most people are bound by the knots of the marital relationship, and consequently, they forget their relationship with Krishna. So this bond of family, it starts with the attraction between man and woman when they get married. Either if it is arranged marriage, then at the time of marriage they get attracted. If it is love marriage, then they know beforehand. Whatever the case may be. So this attraction starts, and then they have offsprings, and then it becomes a family, and then they all get so entangled, so attracted, so attached to this family life. This is my house, this is my family, and this is my comfort zone. You cannot think of anything outside. That is why, Grahastha ashram is not a problem. It's an ashram where one can make spiritual advancement, but keeping Krishna in the center, not me in the center. Actually, it is me in the center. It's not my wife or children. Because they give me pleasure, I keep them in the center. If they don't give me pleasure, then they can be divorced, kids can be kicked out. So ultimately it's me because it gives me pleasure. But that me we have to, Janas, this is what Shloka says, Janas moho ayam aham mameti. This is the moha, this is the illusion. Aham mameti. This is me and mine, I, me and mine. That's all a person thinks of. Rather, one should think of Krishna. This is all Krishna's. This house belongs to Krishna. Now just think of, his consciousness should be such, that way it should be developed. This house belongs to Krishna. My wife belongs to Krishna. My children belongs to Krishna. My job belongs to Krishna. My property belongs to Krishna. I belong to Krishna. And that is a real ego. Everything is Krishna's. And we should be engaging everything in service of Krishna. It doesn't mean we give up everything. It just means we should engage everything in the service of Krishna. And Prabhupada says this attachment is so difficult to give up. Even if a sannyasi, he has given up his family, his house, and everything, but he can get attached to his room, in the temple. He can get attached to a few things. He might have only maybe a dhoti and a kopi, and maybe he can get attached to that also. And knowing Krishna, look at his face and his eyes. He's so naughty. And the way he's going to test everybody. Whether he tests a sannyasi for his kopin and dhoti, and whether he tests a grihastha for all the property and relative relationships he has. He is going to test everybody. How much you are attached to these material things and how much you are attached to me. That makes a difference. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, actually, I was just like trying to contemplate on each of your words. Like as last you mentioned it, constantly we have to remind ourselves saying that this property or whatever is belongs to Lord Krishna itself, so that we can develop the attitude of detachment. I mean, being in this material world. So is it something like constantly telling to the mind will only automatically elevate us to the consciousness level, or uh, just by repeating these words, the feeling will come?
No, the feeling will come when we get attached to Krishna. Do the positive thing. The negative thing will go away.
Yes, in the beginning you mentioned also about the pious activity and sinful activity. But
No,
again, this
that is pious and impious. The bhakti is different.
yes, so this pious activity also again like it's not gonna help to get rid of the bondage of like or birth and death cycle. We have to again elevate ourselves like towards to the devotional part. So it is like as it is mentioned about three types of action in Bhagavad Gita, I think chapter 4, about karma, akarma, and vikarma. So this akarma to the level of coming to the level of akarma. Akarma is like even in the devotional world also, devotional service, while doing the devotional services as well, the natural tendency comes like to at least to have some reward, recognition, or appreciation. Then only we get the motivation to even do the devotional services. That is also again binding only, attachment only. So like how to get rid of all this such kind of it's actually very difficult. So I just wanted to
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I got kicked out. And now I'm back.
okay. Yes, Prabhuji. All I was inquiring was like, since we studied about karma, akarma, and vikarma, and this more than pious activities, we should do the devotional, like giving all the credit to Lord. It is saying like that, so that will consider it like it will liberate us from the cycle of birth and death. So now, even in the devotional service as well, while doing devotional service also, until and unless we don't get any reward, recognition, or appreciation, we don't get the motivation to do the devotional services. So, does that mean that it is again a work with an attachment or service with an attachment?
So if the reward and recognition is a motivation, then if we don't give it up ourselves, Krishna will take it away. Instead of reward, we will get insulted. But still, we have to carry on with our services. So the point is, We should not be attached to anything when we are serving. Only attachment should be to serve Krishna, whichever way he wants. There'll be many tests. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to tell the reality. There will be many, many tests. And the test will be where our real attachment is. That will be tested. For something that we are not even attached, we don't even care for, there will not be any test. Krishna knows he will pass this one very easily. Something that is really that Krishna has to remove that thing. He will really test us on that. Really, really, he will test us.
So it sounds like just hearing from you only. So before getting Krishna, like it is advisable to give up from by our own choice. Even more.
See, many times we don't even realize I'm attached to this.
Yes, right.
We don't even realize, because that is why Rishabdev Maharaj is speaking, and all the places, the association of devotees is very important. But that association, actually, what it should happen is we should be able to disclose our hearts to that devotee. And in return, he or she should be very objective, and they should be able to tell us where we lack, instead of all the goody stuff. Generally, devotees do this goody stuff. But, oh, you're so humble and you're so exalted and this and that, which is good for our motivation, which is fine. But at the same time, we have to know, where am I making a mistake? And only a real good devotee friend, without any ulterior motives, he can tell. Some things I cannot see, but the devotees can, others can see. That's where we need the help. But then our false ego should not be that much that if somebody tells me my mistakes, then I should discard his association, thinking, oh, he's in Maya or she's in Maya. They don't know me, how exalted I am. But that's what happens, actually.
True. Yes. Actually, we should, say, very sincerely practice small course of purify the consciousness, because nowadays nobody like to hear anything negative about oneself from others. Whomsoever.
Yeah.
The tolerance level one should really develop, the patience level. Until and unless if we do not have such kind of virtue in us, then it is very difficult to actually cultivate good habits, or develop good habits in our life. So yeah, like working on each of these things are essential.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Erica.
But anyway, we carry on and we just try to do more and more services. That's all. Okay.
Yes, Ruji, thank you so much.
Okay, welcome. So thank you all very much. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.